The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I give the call to the member for Warrawoona.
I obviously express condolences to the families of Tori and Katrina, and also for the other people that were under grave threat for their lives during that period. I want to especially associate myself with the comments of the member for Murray in this debate, which went to the need for tolerance and understanding in this country in the aftermath of this horrific event. You, Mr Deputy Speaker, would well and truly know that once in a blue moon that I would agree with Liberal councillors Hadid, Manoon and Hachiti on Liverpool Council. However, I absolutely associate myself with the comments they have made demanding an apology from Councillor Marcus Cornish of Penrith Council in the last few days. And the first point, I just briefly return to our friend Mr Mann Haroon Monis before I get to this point. This is a person who allegedly fled Iran after fraud, a travel agent who fabricated his religious credentials, a man who had faced charges in regards to murder, intimidation and aggravated sexual assault, and had sent hate mail to people whose families had been victims overseas. He was, of course, repudiated totally by a significant number of Islamic centres in Sydney, who did not take up his offer to preach at their respective mosques. An example of that being the Nabi Akram Islamic Centre, a Shia site in Cowper Street, Granville, where my friend Hamid Hasib was amongst people who rejected him as not being the kind of person that they want to have their giving lectures and giving religious beliefs. And he was quoted in the Sydney Morning Herald, amongst many others, who said this person, back before he committed these horrendous actions, had nothing to do with Islam. Now I want to turn to this question of Penrith Council and the debate about a mosque in that council area, because if we are to learn from this, essentially it's crucial to undermine real terrorism, and Mr Momus was not a terrorist, he's just an absolute criminal of the worst order, as his track record showed. We must seek to incorporate Islamic Australians. And what we're seeing on Penrith Council is a small group within the Liberal Party, and I stress that, described as the Taliban faction, who fortunately on the council were outvoted 9-2 last week about having a mosque there. And I want to particularly commend the Liberal Mayor of that area, a moderate person who joined with the absolute majority of Liberals, Greens and Independents and Labor to reject his concepts. But Mr Cornish shows exactly how we're not going to dissuade people from joining extremist groups. Obviously there are socioeconomic factors in unemployment, marginalisation, but we must seek to incorporate Australian Muslims into the broader society. And what we've had out there is a kind of outburst of extreme Islamophobia. He has went on the record saying this mosque must be built in Liverpool because Liverpool is identified with criminality and there's more Muslims out there. Yes, the proportion of Muslims in the Liverpool Council area, which I share with yourself, Mr Deputy Speaker, is 10.1, and the percentage in Penrith is only 1.9%. However, the actual religious centre is Shia, a distinct minority among Sydney's Muslims, and I don't have separate figures as to their concentration beyond, we all know, Arncliffe. Now, what are we saying? We're saying that we will decry Muslims and other ethnic groups concentrating in particular suburbs of Sydney and basically forming so-called ghettos, but we will not allow religious centres in other areas which would essentially attract them to those centres. It would disperse the population more. The more mosques, the more religious centres we have, the more schools we have, actually is a force for basically widening diversity of settlement. But the same people who say, oh well, it's all about Sharia law, it's about the question of terrorism, etc. They go and basically create problems for us. In this marginalisation, this stigmatisation, these attacks, and at the same time saying, look, and he actually went on recently apparently to say, he's a big expert on this, I don't know where he got these statistics from, but Councillor Marcus Cornish has alleged, someone told him that most of the people moving into the Kemps Creek area come from Auburn and Liverpool. Now, we've got a Bureau of Statistics in this country, we've got a census, but this person must have expertise beyond all of these institutions and all of these methods of accomplishing statistics, because he apparently knows that. Now, I've got to say that, as I say, the Momus sought to associate himself with ISIL. As we know, he had to get the flag from somewhere else to actually associate himself in a real sense. He had no contacts whatsoever. They, of course, and groups like him utilised him afterwards to, in some ways, praise his action. But it is very important that we do not see this as even the work of extremist terrorist organisations. It is very much a personalised criminality that he has undertaken. And I've got to say, I want to get back to this theme that I remember Australia's Islamic community in Western Sydney before September 11th. It was a community which had basically integrated into the wider society in a very real sense. And I remember going, as I think most members of this House would know, that with the possible exception of the member for Barara, there's probably no one else who's associated with this community as much as I basically, after many years of contact with the Islamic community, didn't know that it was a problem to shake hands. Because a lot of the houses I went into, women never raised the issue with me. That's the way it was. And what we had after September 11th was a drift towards fervency, and in some sense, there'll be many people in this House who believe in religious fervency if it stays at that. And what we said is we had the community under assault, under investigation, under the spotlight, and people had to make a choice. They had to either stick out and be loyal with people, or they had to basically retreat and get out of the community. And it's very crucial that we don't have conduct such as we're witnessing in Penrith Council, admittedly by only 2 of the councillors, that basically says to people again that you're on the fringe, you're outside, you shouldn't have a religious centre, you're associated with criminality, you're associated with what is bad in our society. And as I say, I want to praise the entire Liverpool Council who've basically said to Mr Cornish, an apology is overdue. This kind of stigmatisation is not to be tolerated. Once again, I join with members in the basic tenor of this debate in saying that this is a reprehensible action that we've witnessed, and feeling very deeply for all those involved. We saw its manifestation in the flowers and other aspects in Sydney, and it really was representative of the society we want. Thank you.